Triple Crown winner, a Breeders' Cup winner, a horse of a lifetime!
Hello and welcome to Tournament Talk on the Tournament Edge. I'm Bobby Shoemaker. That's Barry the Sniper Spears. We're coming to you for Saturday, November 21st. 4 races, of course, 2 at Aqueduct, 2 at Del Mar. Barry and I elected to stay away from Churchill Downs this weekend just because of the potential rain. So, Sniper, let's not waste any time. Let's go straight to race 5 at Aqueduct on Saturday. It's a 1-mile turf event for 3-year-olds and up, a $67,000 allowance race, a field of 9. Tell me who wins and why, sir.
This is a really interesting race from a pace perspective. There's a lot of horses that want to do the same thing, I noticed here. But I'm going to start with Indian Brute, who's probably going to be the favorite, deservedly so. This horse has really not run a bad one yet. But on the flip side of things, hasn't won at all. The last win came in November 2014. Had some near misses at similar competition, but a horse that has 10 starts, 1 win, 4 seconds is not the horse for me, especially at a short price. I have to look elsewhere. The horse, the next one I'll go over is Macadon, who will be the likely pace setter. And I took a really long look at this horse, just from a pace perspective. Might have an advantage over some of these, especially coming from the inside. But I think this horse is better going longer distances. This seems a little bit short. Just looking at the horse's resume, this might be a little short and might not be the best trip for him, but definitely has a good shot. With the pace scenario, it might favor a horse like this with Aaron Greider up, who's a journeyman, who can settle horses down on the lead. But I chose On Tap, which is the number 7 horse. A very interesting horse who has yet to run on the turf. First time on the turf, out of Tappet, who's a decent turf sire. Yeah. But I like this horse the way early last year, back in November, ran a pretty good race against horses like March, finished 3rd behind March and Ship Disturber. March has actually done okay since then. Came back to win in a 6-furlong dirt race on the inner over a horse by the name of Adrus and Money Multiplier, who are pretty tough customers. Now they bring this horse back off that layoff since January 3rd of this year, which is a little bit alarming. Right. However, ran the best number yet. And I think this horse is probably pointed towards the turf. Initially, it has some turf pedigree. The Damn Fantastic Sure was a stakes winner on the turf. So I don't think this will be a problem for this horse, and I think this is a good spot for this horse to pop and win at a decent price, maybe 5-6 to 1.
Well, obviously not going to talk you off a horse like this. And to be honest, Barry, I read this race. I thought the 7 was going to be the horse that would go to the lead, and you'd have to catch the 7. So obviously speed is deadly anywhere. And if the 7 does get the lead, he's certainly got the numbers that if they translate from the dirt to the turf, he's a major player. I thought Macadon, as you said, is certainly the horse to beat. I thought Indian Brute, from a morning line perspective, Barry, I thought it was a little lower than what I'm accustomed to for horses of that nature. I mean, run 1 race on the turf, I just don't feel like we have enough information, albeit it was a big race, and he had an excuse not to win, and probably with a better post and a better trip would have won the race. But at 5-2, with not a lot of information, with that horse being on the turf, I certainly played against. I do think from a pace perspective, your horse is a horse to beat. I think you're going to have to catch the 7. I landed on the 4, Ross J-Dog, and here's why. Brushed the gate 3 starts back, Barry, the last start at this distance on the turf, and still overcome that adversity to almost win the race. Only beat ahead, and if you look at the comment lines, he dug in down the stretch. So that's a horse, 2nd career start, dealing with adversity, leaving a gate. we've talked about this time and time again. A lot of times when horses of any age, especially horses that are young, have some type of incident, especially early in the race, they're not used to it. They throw in the towel and they say, I'm done with this race. That was not the case with Ross J-Dog. He gets a significant jockey change from Angel Arroyo, no comment, to Johnny Velasquez, who is certainly one of the best jockeys in New York. That's why he gets on a lot of Todd Pletcher horses. He's Todd Pletcher's A guy for the most part. So anytime there's a jockey change from Arroyo to Johnny Velasquez, that's a plus. If you look at his last start, Barry, on the turf when he goes 7 furlongs, his numbers increase. He run his best number yet, which was a 104 time form U.S. speed figure. I think the mile suits him best, and I think if he can go back to that start at the mile distance on the turf, he's a major player. I think he'll be forwardly placed, which is where I want to be, considering I think the 7 horse is going to be the speed, and you don't want to get an easy lead because horses like yours, if they see the front and there's no one else around them competing with them, they can get dangerous and strong on the lead. So I like the 4 for a plethora of reasons. The jockey change, he's proven to me that he's very talented on the turf at this distance. And with Johnny V on him, again, I cannot stress that enough. That was a big deal for me, Barry. I think the 4 sits right off your 7, turn for home. He's going to be the horse to beat.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to like that horse. I took a long look at him. The only reason he was actually my 4th horse, probably more towards my 3rd. But if he handles the rising class, and this isn't a whole group of Grade 1 winners here, he'll definitely have a good shot to win this race, especially getting a weight break off that dirt race. I think this sets him up really good.
Yeah, and I think the morning line is 6-1 because he didn't show much on the dirt. And as I will continue to preach to the viewers, and you back me on this, we live in a what have you done for me lately society. And they look at that race and going, he's switching surfaces. He didn't run that well. I think I could get 6-1, Barry. I really do. And hearing your confirmation of your confidence on the 7, certainly going to put the 4 and the 7 in some exotic wagering as well.
Absolutely. Sounds like a cold exacta to me.
Yeah, you're picking up what I'm putting down. So we're going to go to race 8 on the card at Aqueduct. And Barry, I really like this race. This is the Artie Schiller Stakes. It's a 1-mile turf event for 3-year-olds and up. $100,000 on the line. A lot of horses doing a lot of different things. A lot of good horses doing a lot of different things. Who do you like and why?
This is a really interesting race from another one. Just like the other, from the pace standpoint. You got horses like Plainview, who is just a fast horse.
Very fast.
No way around it. That horse is just blazing fast. That was actually a horse that I looked at initially. Very tough horse. I personally love this horse. Love when he runs. I like seeing him run. He was claimed last time by David Jacobson. So I don't see any problems with the trainer switch.
Right.
But I think this horse is a little bit better going 1 turn rather than 2 turns, and that's kind of what turned me off of him. I wouldn't be surprised. The horse is 42 starts, 11 wins. He's just a tough, hard-nosed kind of horse that fits with this group here. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wins or gives a good account of himself. But I'm looking elsewhere. I'm going to go outside to the 10 right now to Reload. Probably will be the favorite, somewhere 2-1, 9-5, I think. I don't like his post position. He's training well, however. Out of a top outfit, Johnny V gets aboard. This is like all the perfect storm of everything coming together. This horse is, on paper, definitely the best horse in this race. Should be the horse to beat. Will be bet like the horse to beat. But I'm going to try to beat him. I don't like the 10-hole on the Aqueduct turf. It's a really tricky post to work out a win unless you're far superior than the talent in the race. I think he's better, but I don't think he's superior. And I think the post position might knock him off the top spot. I do expect him to be in the money, though.
Barry, can I stop you for a second? I want to ask you a little bit more about the 10, especially Shug McGahee. Your thoughts on him specifically. Do you think his strength is this type of race? or do you think his strength is a different distance on this surface, or is it dirt?
I think at least lately, his turf runners have been very excellent.
Yeah.
So I don't know if his focus has shifted to these kind of runners, but he has a lot of them in his barn now, and they're all showing up and they're running really good races. There's horses like Fire Away. There's a few of them that he has. Onus is another one that he has. That are this kind of older type horse that's really improving at the right time. Later in their career rather than earlier. And he's been known for doing that in the past, and it's showing up a lot more with his turf runners rather than his dirt runners now.
And a lot of people are saying exactly what you're saying because his horses are getting bet no matter what their morning line is. So I say that to say he's 5-2, right? So we certainly expect this horse to be bet down to 2-1. Is that safely with that outside draw?
Yeah, absolutely. That's fair. I was thinking a little lower than that because, Lubash might take some money.
Right.
Who's another hard-knocking, state-bred horse who has every right to win this race as anybody. This horse has been around. I just think the shoe's about to fall off soon with this horse. He's an 8-year-old.
Right.
I think maybe this might be a little bit over his head.
Yeah.
His morning line's 3-1. If he's anywhere close to that, he's just a terrible bet.
Fair enough.
So I went actually inside of Lubash to number 3, Slip By. I think this horse is improving at the right time. He ran pretty good in the Firecracker over the summer to the likes of Departing and Knights Nation, who are no slouches, and actually finished behind Skyflight, who's in this race, coincidentally. But the horse went to Saratoga and had 2 tough trips. One, he actually almost won with a bad trip. He was blocked, couldn't get out, finally got out, just lost by a head. And then the second one, he was too wide the whole way around. Didn't really run bad. He ran pretty even, about 4 lengths the whole way around. He's 4 lengths off the lead.
Right.
Then came back to Laurel, wins on a yielding turf. I think this is the right spot for him to step up into the stakes ranks. He had his shot before. He ran pretty good. And this company he's in with on Saturday is not even close to what was in that Firecracker race. So I expect a good performance. You got the European jockey, D'Souza. Well, I think he's going to Del Mar, but I don't expect this horse to get a slouch on as a jockey. So I think somebody credible will probably ride this horse, and I expect a big performance.
And from a pace perspective, I read that there were a lot of horses that wanted to be on the lead, and this horse certainly would set a good trip being off the lead. And I think you're on to something. I took a long look at that horse as well. And Barry, I just went with Plainview to win because I just thought he was too fast for this group. And I thought with the inside draw, Barry, with the 2-hole, I thought he'd be able to get to the rail and save as much ground as he could. And you pointed out with your synopsis of this race is that he's just really, really fast. You go back to these races that he was running earlier in the year at 1 1/16 and a mile. He's just so fast. And I just think that he's faster than this group and with the inside draw. And we are not having this conversation if he's, 8, 9, 10 posts. But with the 2-hole, with his prior experience, with his class, with his speed, 5-1, I'm surprised because I honestly think he's the horse to beat. I really do. And I'm just going to pick him in my tournament and not bet the race and move on. But I did try to beat him because there are a lot of horses here that want to go to the lead. But again, we're talking about one of the fastest horses on the turf on the East Coast, in my opinion. And I just think he's going to outrun them. I think he's going to run them off their feet.
Yeah, it's certainly possible, especially if the turf, is a little dried out. Who knows what could happen? The only thing, if you look at some of his past performances, he's been beaten by a lot of horses that are in this race. Reload's got him by about 5 lengths. There's a couple horses that got him, but that doesn't mean with a perfect trip he can't turn the tables on him easily. Now, the only thing he might have to contend with is number 6, Aztec Brave, who also has shown a lot of speed and is pretty quick in his own right.
English Minister as well, Barry. He wants to go to the lead.
So if he's able to kind of put him to sleep, because he's going to get the jump from the 2-hole, he's going to get the jump on the lead. Right. If he's able to put these horses to sleep,
and that's not out of the realm of possibility in New York because these jockeys don't read the form. It's clear they don't. Because there's horses all the time that on paper, you say they go to the lead, and you look up and they're 25 and change, 51 and change, and you got a horse in the middle of the pack, and you're thinking, well, hey, I thought he was going to close into a pace that's non-existent. So for me, Barry, I get what you're saying. The 2 on paper has a ton of speed going after him. He's lost the horses in this field. But if I get a horse I know is going to get a clean trip and it has exemplary speed in this type of race, I'm going to roll the dice with him, especially at 5-1. That's a good morning line, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a hell of a price. And I don't know if you looked at his past performances playing to not favored very often anyway, even when he wins.
Right.
So, it's definitely a good play at a price, especially in a tournament. That could be, a 5-1 horse like that could definitely make your day.
And you're talking about David Jacobson off the claim. I mean, how good is he off the claim? Dirt, turf, sprint, yeah.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous off the claim. So, everything is in line for this horse to win. We just got to go out and do it on Saturday.
Right. So Barry's on slip by the 3. Love that pick. Just from a pace perspective, and I'm on the 2 plain view. I think he's just too fast for this group, and we'll run them off their feet. So, again, we're skipping Churchill Downs this week because of the potential rain on Saturday. We're going to go out to Del Mar, Barry, race 6 on the cards, a 1-mile maiden special weight race for 2-year-olds, a $52,000 purse. Who wins this one?
Ooh, this is another toughie.
You
you got horse in number 6, Whispering Softly, who on paper looks better than all these horses. Even after only 1 start,
right.
This horse looks like a standout. I'm not really fond of the ship from Churchill, which is kind of odd that you see this horse do that, especially for an outfit like Grand Motion, who tends to run horses out west every once in a while, but it's kind of strange that this horse ends up in this spot. For a maiden race.
I didn't understand.
And that, to me, is a red flag, unfortunately.
Because he wants to get rid of him.
That's what it seems like.
Right.
I don't know for sure. Obviously, I'm not Mr. Grand Motion, who's an excellent trainer. But it's just odd that, taking this horse all the way out to the West Coast for a maiden race.
Right.
The horse ran well. There's really no knocks on the horse other than the fact that I just don't like that kind of maneuver. The next horse I'd like to talk about is the 5 inside of the Whispering Softly, is These Not Words. This horse is going to be my pick. I believe this horse showed a little something in his debut. Didn't really get an ideal trip, and kind of ran evenly the whole way around under Brian Pedrosa. Now he's getting to Mike Smith, which is a huge jock upgrade. Even though Mike Smith isn't riding all that great, he still can win races. And he ran in the same race as the other horse that kind of was my borderline pick, in That's a Lady, who finished a few lengths, 3 lengths ahead of D's Not Words. But I think that D's Not Words is actually a better horse here. Has some turf pedigree in the background, especially on the mother side. There is a surface winner that the 7 That's a Lady does not have.
Right.
And I think the improvement is going to be there. I like to switch to Mike Smith in this spot, and I think this horse is going to be tough.
These Not Words has the best numbers of the group coming off 1 race. There's no denying that. The reason I went against this horse, Barry, I looked at the video replay. He didn't show enough to me in the lane, considering the odds. Now, obviously, I understand it's his first race. He has every right to improve, and he probably will improve. But with the odds and the other talent in this race and the different avenues that you could handicap this race, I just decided to play against him. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking the 10 horse Jeremy's Legacy is probably going to go off the favorite in this race. I know he's 5-1 morning line, but with as hot as Doug O'Neill is right now, I mean, you could argue he's the best trainer in the country. And Rafael Bejarano gets bet on everything he gets on, whether that horse has a chance to win or not. So with the Doug O'Neill, Rafael Bejarano connections, I'm thinking the 10 is going to end up going off the favorite. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I was thinking. Whispering Softly is another player. I thought he finished nicely, considering he dealt with adversity. He was pulled early in the race. He could have given up. He didn't. I went off the grid here, and this is not a typical play of mine, but I actually landed on the 3 horse, Barry, Miss Injustice. Now, The reason that this horse stood out to me initially was the pedigree. I am a big advocate of Timeform pedigree ratings. I think they do a great job of simplifying it and breaking it down for you for other people who may not know historical horses and to know where they were good at, whether it was turf or dirt, and if they've been able to sire good turf or dirt horses. Timeform gave this horse a rating of 99 for a turf route out of 100. Last time I checked, that's pretty good. And I like the fact that this horse has a race under its belt, albeit on the dirt. But I like horses who have a run under them before they go a mile or longer on the turf. You know as well as I do, horses, especially firsters, that go long on the turf, for the most part, unless they're trained by Chad Brown, who wins on everything that he runs on the turf, they certainly need a race under their belt. So he was in a stakes race. Going 6.5 on the dirt, he faced Just Google Me, who freaked out. Yes, he lost by 9 3/4, but he was coming on for second. He almost finished second, lost by a head. Now he gets on the surface that I really think he wants to be on to begin with. And if he's going to pop, Barry, it's going to be this type of race. And I just thought a lot of these horses were evenly matched. And a lot of them were lower prices than I felt comfortable with. You know, the 9-2, 5-1 variety, and those horses had run on the turf, and they were okay. Not to say they can't improve, but they were just okay to me from watching the video. So I'm taking a shot here. I'm just going to go with Miss Injustice. The pedigree says she wants it. I like the fact that she's got a race under her belt, and I certainly like 12-1.
Yeah, no, definitely an interesting choice. I mean, you know, this race is kind of one of those kind of even kind of races, like you were saying, where everybody's kind of doing the same thing. And, you know, this could be a separated horse. I mean, it's really tough. The only thing I didn't like was the trainer stats were first time on the turf. Not very good at all. Yeah. And then, you know, the horse's mother's first sibling just didn't run on the turf at all. Just one race overseas. Not anything to grab onto there, but definitely worth a shot, especially coming out of that stake race. That was pretty good, yeah. and didn't really run bad. I mean, there's really not a, you know, for a first time starter in a stake race like that, 100K stake, even though it was restricted, still didn't run bad. I mean, you can't knock that.
And then one more thing I'd like to say, and you know I'm a stickler for workouts, especially early in a horse's career, and I like horses who work out longer. People get enamored with 3 furlongs and 36 and 4 furlongs and 47. Yes, those mean something in a certain sense, but we're talking about a horse that needs to go long. And I like the back-to-back 6 furlong works. Now, I don't look at the time. I just like the fact the horse went 6 furlongs twice. I understand it's a reach, but I didn't like what I saw from the horses already on the turf. I like this horse's pedigree. I like 12-1. I think he'll be an overlay, and it could be a tournament separator. And if you lose to maybe your horse, I think he's going to be bet well below his morning line. It might not hurt you that much.
Yeah, no, that's true. And one horse I'd like to mention on top of that, like a long shot play, is the 8, Kai High Sunset. Okay. This horse got a tough go of it on the downhill course, and I expect some improvement here at a big price. I don't think this horse is going to kick any action, but I think this horse can run a little bit. You know, you may want to think about that horse at a big price, especially in a tournament situation if you're down. This horse might be a good one to take a swing at.
Well, I'll be writing that down and adding it to the exotic, so appreciate that, Barry. So we're going to move on to race 8 on the Del Mar card. It's a grade 3 stakes event. It is 1 mile and 3/8 on the turf. It's the red carpet handicap for 3-year-olds and up. Barry, my favorite race of the 4 that we read, and my top selection of the Tournament Talk show for this week is included in this race. But I'll let you go ahead, and maybe you're lucky enough to have picked the winner, because I know I haven't.
I think I'm on the winner here, too, because this is the one I had the strongest opinion about, which is fun. But I'll start with the favorite, or the projected favorite, which is the 9 Electrum. Definitely looks like the horse to beat here. Has done nothing wrong, at least at this class. This horse is definitely going to be a contender. I don't see too many things wrong with this horse. It's just I can't play these kind of horses in a race like this at short prices. Right. Very Captain Obvious type, where the horse is supposed to win this race, looks like it's supposed to win this race, and usually that's when they don't win the race. Out of the 9-hole, not my favorite place to be, but still consistent. Just a pretty good horse here, and definitely the horse to beat. But I'm siding with number 2, 3 Hearts. I think this horse has a huge pace advantage over the rest of them here. I think this horse might be lone speed. And if this horse gets to the lead and does what he did back last year on the 22nd, coincidentally, of November, this horse can go wide here and beat this field. Gets in light, second off the layoff since July. Had a nice 7-furlong breeze on the turf, actually, on the 15th of November. And like you were just saying, going back to that, I like those long works, especially on the turf. It just builds a lot of stamina. I think this horse is definitely going to give a good account of himself or herself. So I'm expecting this horse to go to lead. If I get anywhere near 10-1, I'm going in with both fists.
2 was my second selection, so we're not that far off. I read the speed differently than you, Barry, and I'll get to my top selection in a minute. I wanted your opinion on Energia Fribby. Now, I went to this horse our last show, or 2 shows back, when it was between Full Ransom, who I ended up being my selection, who won the race at a nice price, and this horse, who I initially selected. I wanted to like this horse, Barry, but I have a sour taste in my mouth because the horse had no excuse last time out and just didn't pick up its feet at all and flattened out beyond belief down the lane, while Full Ransom went against what his form said he was going to do and won the race anyway. Wanted your thoughts on that horse. The time form said he did brush the gate last time, so they're giving him a bit of an excuse. Your thoughts on the 1?
I think the 1 had 2 good shots at it since being here in the U.S. The first one probably a lot better than the second, although now this horse is getting back to a distance that I think favors her a lot more than the mile and 16th. Going a mile and 3/8, definitely, looking back at her past performances, a mile and a half, mile and a quarter, that's where her sweet spot is. Actually a Group 1 winner at a mile and a quarter, I believe.
Which is why I picked the horse to win last time.
Well, yeah, and it makes sense. But with that being said, I don't think that horse is going to get the pace she's going to need in order to close here. And I just don't see too much pace in this race to look for somebody that's going to be closing as deep as she will.
Your thoughts on Trophy, and then I'll get to my selection, the 5 horse. Took a long look at this horse. The numbers say she's a major player. Just doesn't seem like she likes to win a lot of races. I understand she won 3 starts back, but she's had opportunities to win in other spots as well. James Graham aboard, certainly his strengths on the turf. Christopher Clement comes out here. He's obviously known for his turf riders. Probably going to take a lot of money. I wanted to like this horse, she will be forwardly placed, obviously not on the lead. I just couldn't take this horse at 7-2 and will be bet because of Clement.
Well, my comments on this horse, on the form that I have, I put not a finisher. This horse definitely has talent, but for whatever reason, can't finish off races.
How many races should the horse have won this year? Honestly, down the lane.
Probably 5.
Yeah.
Probably 5, maybe even 6.
Right.
But this horse just doesn't like to finish, and I hope they bet this horse a lot.
They will.
I hope so, because that'll just raise the odds on my horse, who I like here a lot. So I just can't bet a horse like that doesn't finish races against top class and up against it today. These horses are very good in this race.
Well, Barry, we certainly are in agreement when it comes to the pace of the race. The first thing I have here on my notes, slow. I mean, this race is slow. There's a lot of horses that want to be mid-pack or closers. They're going to be very compromised by the pace because there isn't any. I didn't think your horse wanted to lead. I thought the 4, Beat of the Drum, wanted to lead. And here's why. 2 starts back, $55,000 allowance race at Santa Anita on October 9th. This horse got the lead and won going away by 3 1/4 lengths. To me, I thought the 4 was going to get the lead. If you go to the last start in the race that we just broke down a couple of weeks ago, in which she lost to Full Ransom, 3 wide all the way around the racetrack, and there's no arguments. That race certainly had more speed than this one ever will. So, and I think the 4 is the type of horse that needs the lead. Doesn't want to pass anybody, but it's one of those situations where if he gets the lead, if he gets stronger. 2 races back that I just mentioned, time form U.S. speed figure, Barry, of 121. That's the best in this field. Again, if she can get the lead, which again, I read the race as the 4 getting the lead. If the 4 gets the lead, I think the 4 is going to take him wire to wire. And I was going to go 2-4, 2-4 all, try to get something underneath for the 3rd to pay a price. I like the 4. This is my top selection of the weekend at 12-1, and I'm expecting to get an overlay because I think the 5 horse, and I think maybe even Personal Diary or Rusty Slipper is going to take money. So I think we're on the 2 best horses. I'm going to go with the 4 Beat of the Drum.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a fair assessment. I mean, I did kind of hesitate. I didn't like this horse to be right projected on the lead, only because in the past, even on his synthetic win back to break his maiden, it says he chased the leaders, and a lot of coming, tracking the leaders, which is kind of sitting right off and making one nice run. I don't know if that's going to work. I mean, I think this horse's best shot is to go to the lead.
Right.
Whether he outbreaks the 2 or not, it remains to be seen. But definitely ran very good race last time, despite being 3 wide. Chocolati and then Full Ransom kind of. I can see that kind of race playing out here, where those 2, Beat of the Drum and 3 Hearts, are kind of going to be 1-2.
Right.
The whole way around. And if they go slow enough, they could stay 1-2 the whole way around.
If Bryce Blanc and Joe Talamo can read the form the way you and I can, Barry Spears, they're going to run 2-4 all the way around the racetrack, and it'll be up to them to decide who wins it down the stretch.
Absolutely, but they might be seeing hieroglyphics. Who knows? But hopefully, maybe they watch Tournament Talk. Hopefully,
they should watch Tournament Talk.
They absolutely should. Everybody should watch Tournament Talk, especially the jockeys.
When you're talking about 2 turns on the turf, man. I mean, that's a big deal. So your top selection of the weekend, Barry, is in this race as well. We've been doing that a lot lately, by the way. The top selections have been in the same race. But you're on the 2, 3 Hearts in this race, and it's your top selection of the weekend as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm on the 4, Beat of the Drum in this race, and the 4 is my top selection. So that does it for this week's edition of Tournament Talk. For Barry the Sniper Spears, I'm Bobby Shoemaker. And as always, until next weekend, good luck.